We have seen, unfortunately, examples of systemic racism within the RCMP, within many of our institutions.
Tonight, Canada's Civilian Review Commission upholds a complaint of racism against the RCMP and the way some members treated the mother of a dead Cree man.
We've been waiting for this justice for a long time.
We have reaction to the Commission's findings from the family of Colten Boushie, gunned down and killed in 2016 by a Saskatchewan farmer.
I think we've all really needed some good news coming out of the winter of the pandemic.
And its traditional Inuit structure used for gatherings, nothing like it has been seen within recent memory. Good evening. I'm Melissa Ridgen with your APTN National News. We begin tonight with an update to a story that APTN reported last week where an international adult website had sections requesting nude images of Mi'kmaq women. The users in the website posted full names of adult women and underage girls without their knowledge. These sections have been taken down. The RCMP said there are 5 open investigations in Nova Scotia, but could not comment on other provinces. Anyone victimized on this site, which APTN is not naming, is encouraged to contact their local police, and the victims of online child exploitation should report to cybertip.ca. Moving now to Alberta, where bail has been denied for 2 men accused of killing Métis hunters Jacob Sampson and Maurice Cardinal. Father and son Roger and Anthony Bilodeau are each charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder in those deaths. Their bodies were found a year ago beside their truck where they'd been hunting. A trial is set to begin for the 2 accused on May 25th. To Ontario now, the Pikangikum First Nation over the weekend kicked out the Ontario provincial police officers that are stationed in that community. They say because of years of unresolved allegations of misconduct by OPP officers. But the move had unintended consequences, and Indigenous Services Canada responded by pulling out all medical staff in the remote fly-in community. Jamie Pashagumskum explains.
There is a history of tension between police and the community. In 2015, the OPP detachment building and a few police cars were damaged. This after community members protested the arrest of a suspected drunk driver. MPP Saul Mamakwa is the critic for Indigenous and treaty relations. He says he supports the Chief and Council's decision.
Time again now, I'm not surprised on the way Indigenous people across Canada are treated. It's not a shock anymore.
Indigenous Services Minister Mark Miller called the allegations extremely distressing and said his department will be there to assist where needed.
I do understand there will be an investigation as to the alleged actions on behalf of the OPP. My department and I, over the course of the weekend, perhaps had to take a series of decisions.
The decision he's talking about was to order Pikangikum's medical personnel to leave the community, because without an OPP presence, their safety would be in question. Mamakwa says this was unnecessary.
Again, it's racism. It's even though the First Nations officers of the Ontario First Nations policing agreement, they were there. That's enough. And that's for them to pull out just because non-First Nation officers left. Again, that's racism. And I think we need to bring back the officers, the nurses as soon as possible.
Miller said his department supported the nurses' decision to pull out of the community. But Pikangikum is a remote community only accessible by air, and being without nurses leaves them very vulnerable.
It'll require some creative thinking, whether ultimately it's bolstered First Nations policing in the community that can ensure the health and safety, so that the healthcare personnel can be there on a 24/7 basis.
Indigenous Services said permanent medical staff will be in the community soon. For now, they're being flown in and flown out the same day. In the meantime, Miller said the investigation is being done by the OPP's Special Investigations Unit. Pikangikum's Band Council were in closed meetings today and unavailable for comment. Jamie Pashagumskum, APTN National News, Ottawa.
Thanks, Jamie. A First Nation in the Yukon has filed a judicial review against the territorial government after it approved a mining operation in a sensitive part of the First Nations traditional territory. Last month, the Yukon government authorized Metallic Minerals Corporation to conduct exploration in the Choyuktan First Nations Beaver watershed. Nacho Nyakten says it repeatedly asked the Yukon government to consult directly with its citizens to understand concerns. They claim that the government refused to consult with them, and they claim that they were told that any consultation actually would be, quote, unfeasible.
This is one of the few parts of the territory which is really still in a pristine state. And it's important to the First Nation that, to the greatest extent possible, they be the ones making decisions about how to protect this area and where and how to allow development to go forward in this area. And that was denied to them in this case.
Nacho Nyakten's lawyer says the First Nation has also filed a case management conference with the Yukon Supreme Court, the Yukon government, and the mining company so that they can all talk about the issue at hand. Well, we have to take a break, but when we come back, major development in the Colten Boushie case, and we address all of the masks that are destined to landfills because of the COVID-19 pandemic. That's when we all come back. Welcome back. Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, mask wearing is one of the ways health officials say that we can lessen the spread of the virus. However, disposing of the masks has become an environmental issue. APTN's Tina House has this story of a BC-based company hoping to create a solution.
Everywhere you look, everyone is wearing a mask. Some are made of cotton and can be washed, but others, like these medical masks, which are single-use and made of plastic, are winding up being thrown on the ground, and in some cases, even ending up in our waterways and oceans. Karen Riston says that the improper disposal of masks and gloves is turning into an environmental catastrophe.
The gloves can look like food to some marine animals, and so there's a danger if they swallow that it's going to block their intestine, and then of course they starve to death. It's not okay to throw anything out. How should it be okay to throw out a mask, personal protective equipment that is meant to protect you against viruses? Why would you put that on the ground? No one else is going to want to pick it up in case it's contaminated. It's just a travesty.
It's estimated that 1.5 billion used masks will end up in the ocean this year. Now, one company in Burnaby, BC has a solution. Mikhail Moore is the president of Vidicor Industries. The company was started in May of 2020 to fill the need of supplying Canadian-made high-grade personal protection equipment, like these N95 and N99 respirators, along with the medical masks that they make at their manufacturing facility.
Over here you can see our Can99 assembly lines, and so this is our newest respirator. This is the one that achieves over 99% filtration, and it's geared specifically for healthcare workers across Canada. And we've made this respirator fit as many faces as possible and really form a really tight seal and provide a really high level of protection.
Now, the company saw another need, a need to create a recycling program. So he partnered along with McMaster's University and the University of British Columbia to develop these recycling bins. For now, they are located in some urgent care centers and long-term care facilities in Metro Vancouver.
The procedure for recycling it was not very complicated in the fact that the masks are mostly made up of polypropylene plastic, which is already readily recyclable.
The recycled masks are turned into plastic pellets, which can be reused in construction. Vidicor hopes to expand that recycling program across Canada. Tina House, APTN National News, West Vancouver.
Well, another province is faced with a harsh reality about racism in its medical system. 72% of First Nations people polled in Manitoba said they experienced racist treatment firsthand when accessing care, while 80% have witnessed it happen to loved ones. That's according to a new survey by the Southern Chiefs organization, which suggests a pattern of discrimination, neglect, and even abuse. SCO Grand Chief Jerry Daniels says the findings are appalling. He joins us now. Grand Chief, our viewers might not be surprised that so many people are saying that they've experienced or witnessed racism in the healthcare system here in Manitoba. What in this survey stood out to you?
I think the incidents of people saying that they've experienced racism, also the incidents in which people say they saw racism, and also the very high number of people who believe that there is racism within the health system reflects, I think, some real lived experience that we need to consider when shaping the future of healthcare in this province.
You know, something that stood out for me, somebody is quoted as saying, it's assumed when I go to seek medical attention that I'm a drug user. So I always start my appointments with, I don't want opiates or painkillers, or I'm not seeking painkillers. This works to a certain extent. But I don't know, you know, what if some point I have pain and I'm seeking care? You know, I read something like that, that's not something that non-Indigenous looking people have to deal with. And it's widespread here in Manitoba. You know, is it concerning to you that more than half of the people in this survey said that they would avoid seeking medical care because of the racism that they face in the healthcare system?
You know, it's a failure of our health, you know, providers to make it so that, you know, people feel like they want to have their health situation checked by a professional. You know, they shouldn't feel like, you know, if they go to a health provider that, you know, they're going to in some way be harmed. And whether that's real or perceived, it really doesn't matter, because that's the current state of affairs, and we need to change that.
You've taken these findings. Have you taken them to the feds or to the province, and what's been discussed if that's been the case?
I think the province and the federal government are quite aware of the findings. It's a public report. It's add to a growing you know, base of knowledge. Several reports prior have gone out with respect to health delivery, including the FINISM report, which looked at different regions throughout the province. So, you know, it's adding to a growing, you know, base of knowledge that strengthens, I think, the argument that there needs to be changes in the healthcare system. And, you know, in other regions throughout the country, First Nations are in control of their healthcare system. And in fact, when First Nations are in control, I think we're starting to see better outcomes, because we're very focused on the patient experience. I think people have confidence in that their people, their leaders, and their own health system will look after them. And I think that is the way forward.
Shifting gears a little bit, you guys have another survey out right now asking about racism in policing. Are you seeing anything from that survey yet, or what do you expect to see?
I think the findings there are very preliminary for me to comment, you know, specifically around, you know, what the feedback is getting. But I can tell you that I wouldn't be surprised if much of the findings are very similar. And it's a growing part of what many people are quite aware of, and that is that the colonial system and the values embedded within the system are not favorable for First Nations people. And that is why, you know, we continue to see the kind of health outcomes and the kind of incarceration rates that we're seeing.
Well, thanks for taking the time to join us today to talk about this survey, and we look forward to the results of the one on policing.
Thank you.
The Civilian Review and Complaints Commission, which is the watchdog for the RCMP, has found that during the investigation into the 2016 shooting death of Colten Boushie, the force racially discriminated against the 22-year-old man's mother and fueled public perception using the media to suggest Boushie deserved to die. APTN's Priscilla Wolf has that story.
The Civilian Review Complaints Commission report found that the RCMP treated Colten Boushie's mother, Debbie Baptiste, so insensitively when they notified her of her son's death that it amounted in discrimination. Attorney Chris Murphy, who is a defense lawyer and has been helping the family, agrees with the Commission's findings.
The RCMP did not have reasonable grounds to believe that there was an armed man inside Debbie's home, but 7 men and women surrounded that home with their carbine rifles in their hands anyway. Debbie came onto the porch where an RCMP member told her about Colten's death. She collapsed on the step in grief. The RCMP took her inside. Then they commenced the illegal search of Debbie's home. And as the CRCC found, The RCMP told Debbie to get it together. They asked her if she'd been drinking. They smelled her breath. Then Debbie told the officers she was waiting for Colten to come home and his dinner was in the microwave. The police didn't believe that, so they searched the microwave too.
The RCMP did their own investigation into the way police handled Boushie's death and found no wrongdoing. The watchdog's investigation, however, shows Debbie Baptiste was indeed mistreated. Colten Boushie's mother, Debbie Baptiste, told the media today,
I did not deserve to be treated the way I was treated. And the RCMP to clear themselves on no wrongdoings shows the injustice that continues and where that needs to change.
The family's lawyer, Eleanor Sunchild, says she's happy the truth about RCMP handling of the case came to light.
We are pleased with that finding of discrimination by the CRCC, but systemic racism underlies this entire case. It's the family's position that systemic racism has plagued this case since day one.
APTN National Chief Perry Bellegarde says this independent review clearly proves systemic racism exists here in Canada.
This is a big day, but a hard day as well. But in the sense that we all continually seek justice for our families right across Canada. And we know the discrimination and racism we face, not only in the justice policing system, there's so much evidence in the healthcare system, in the education system. Right throughout, there is racism and discrimination towards First Nations people.
Baptiste says she hopes other families don't ever have to experience the treatment that she received.
Felt like I was forever fighting a battle that could never be won. This is the time that we step up now and we tell you the injustice and the racism in the courtroom, the discrimination needs to stop. Things need to change.
Priscilla Wolf, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau responded to the report saying Canada needs to do better to end systemic racism.
The way they were treated was unacceptable. We have seen, unfortunately, examples of systemic racism within the RCMP, within many of our institutions, and we need to do better. And I will be tasking Minister Blair and, through him, Commissioner Lucky, to make sure that things move forward in a better way and that there is proper thought given to how best to respond to Colten Boushie's family.
We need to take another break, but when we come back, the biggest igloo you've likely ever seen.
We spent this morning from 8 o'clock till 11, and we were able to put on the last piece, and we were overjoyed.
Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. Today's photo was sent in by Joan Beatty. Here we see Axel enjoying a beautiful sunset along Deschambault Lake in northeastern Saskatchewan. That picture was sent in just 5 days ago, and we wonder how much of that snow might still be kicking around there. Keep those photos coming. Send them to share at aptn.ca for the chance to be our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Off to the east coast, we've got sunshine and 14 for Fredericton, 10 and sunny for St. John's. Happy Valley, Goose Bay, cloud, 6 degrees. Kuujjuaq, snow, -11. Gaspé, sunshine and 11 degrees. Same with Saguenay and Quebec City. Sunshine and 16 for Toronto. Some showers maybe and 13 for Sault Ste. Marie. 3 and snow for Kapuskasing, 16 and sunshine for Timmins. -9 for Norway House and snow, -9 and a mix of sun and clouds for God's Lake. Winnipeg, mix of sun and cloud, 10 degrees, 0 and a mix of sun and cloud for Dauphin. -3 and cloud for Saskatoon, 0 and mostly sunny in North Battleford. -7 and cloud for Buffalo Narrows, -15 sunshine for Stony Rapids. -8 snow for High Level, -14 and snow for Fort Chip.
Sunshine and 5 degrees for Edmonton, 7 and some snow or cloud for Lethbridge, 12 and sunny for Kamloops, 7 and rain for Quesnel, 6 and rain for Prince Rupert, 3 and showers for Prince George. Mayo -9 and sunny skies, Dawson City -9 with a mix of sun and cloud. Trout Lake -8, same with Fort Liard, sunshine there, -15 and sunny for Norman Wells. Tuktoyaktuk -18 and sunny, same with Inuvik. -27 and sunshine for Baker Lake. Newyacht -26 and sunny. Igloo Lake -29 and clear skies there. Pangertung -29 and clear there as well.
Well, most Canadians know what an igloo is, the Inuit snow house, but what happens when you want to have neighbors over? Well, you're going to need a bigger igloo. Kent Driscoll has this story of what happened when Iqaluit decided to build the biggest igloo in memory.
This is a kagiak, an igloo big enough to hold a gathering in. Inuit would build them on the lands when groups would meet to socialize. Iqaluit hasn't seen a kagiak in recent memory. Kagiavut is an Iqaluit-based group with the dream of building a performing arts center in Nunavut. Nunavut has Canada's largest percentage of artists and is the only province or territory without a dedicated stage. So Kagiavut decided to build a kagiak.
I started with Kagiavut around October, and the first question that I asked myself was, have we ever built a traditional kagiak? So the idea stuck in my head, and then I approached Solomon Awa, and I says, is this something that we could do together? And he hesitated, and a week later he says, okay, let's give it a shot.
They started on Wednesday last week and only finished the very top Sunday morning. Iqaluit residents dressed for the seasonal -20 conditions and came out in droves.
We spent this morning from 8 o'clock till 11, and we were able to put on the last piece, and we were overjoyed.
This kagiak covers a lot of ground. It is architecture, engineering, culture, and community, all rolled into one.
I think we've all really needed some good news coming out of the winter of the pandemic and the year, and all I wanted to make sure was that people could celebrate life, celebrate Inuit culture, and the fact that bringing awareness to what we really need here. Kagiavut's been advocating for an actual, real performing arts center in Nunavut, and I hope that this helps bring out the issue.
For one weekend at least, Iqaluit residents got to see what a kagiak is all about. Built in the hope that it could be followed with an actual year-round performing arts center. For now, that permanent stage remains a dream, but Kagiavut hopes to make the kagiak an annual event. This weekend was evidence. If you build it, they will come, even though it's only built to last the weekend. Kent Driscoll, APTN National News, Iqaluit.
Would have loved to have seen a step-by-step of that so we can make little ones in our own yards. Well, that is a wrap on your APTN National News to kick off the week. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Thanks for joining us, and if you missed anything over the past couple of days, of course, you can head to our website, aptnnews.ca. Go get caught up. Have a great night.